CJ Peterson, and welcome to The Journey is Real. We talk to real people with real passions who share a real portion of their heart. Today, my guest is DC Gomez, and we'll be talking about kind of her passion, which is daring people to dream. So we've titled it Dare to Dream. Thank you for coming on today, DC.
Thank you so much for having me, CJ. It is such a pleasure and such an honor to be here with you today. So I'm all excited about this.
Me too. I'm with you. Well, let's talk about your journey, because I know a little bit about it, being, one of my author friends. So I know a little bit about your background and stuff, but our listeners do not. Can you kind of take us back a little bit and bring your journey forward to where you are now?
Let me give you a little backwards trip. So I am originally from the Dominican Republic. So I was born and raised, grew up in Massachusetts. So I grew up in Salem, in the Witch City. So it should not be a surprise to people that I write about witches and zombies and all that stuff.
You're kind of destined after those two backgrounds.
Thank you. I tried to explain this to people, like, with my background, it was meant to be. This is where we're going to take you on this journey. Went to school at NYU, so add New York City into the mix. And then I joined the military. So if life wasn't a little bit exciting from there, I tell everybody I fell for the commercial. I wanted to meet real people so I could write stories about real people. And then my friends
joined the military to write stories.
That's why everybody goes like, and you decided to join the army for that. I was like, I had a really good recruiter. He was awesome. He actually told me the whole nine. So I wanted to tell stories and I wanted to know. And I realized at 21 at NYU, I was young and I was naive and I didn't know anything. Like, I knew about Dominicans and I knew about college students, and that was the extent of my experience. And I tell everybody I joined the military and Bush was going to declare war. So 9/11 happened at that time. And I was in basic training. So I was in basic training.
That's quite a shift from where you were.
My entire role switched it. My entire dreams, my goals, everything that I thought I wanted completely changed overnight. Would that fail? Like, I had left New York City in May. Fast forward to September, I can't call home. I can't call my family. I'm actually in South Carolina at the time. We're supposed to be doing light fire. I can tell you, would that fail, what happened? And we're getting there for the first time to actually have real bullets going over your head. And you're in full battle rattle. You have an M16 strap and you're going to cross this sand pit so you can get it to the side so we can graduate. And 9/11 happened. And you're sitting on a bus and we're looking at our company commander. And the first thing that hit, my heart dropped and I couldn't cry. Like, I was in so much shock that I was like, what do we do? What does this mean? And I realized for the first time, like, I joined the army. I joined the army.
For those who are listening, we're actually taping this on September 11th. It won't be aired for a few more weeks, but we are taping on September 11th. So what she's saying is, sorry, I was actually really close to that area at the same time. So what she's saying is really hitting home right now.
I can tell you 19 years ago, at this time, I was sitting on a bus in North Carolina because we didn't know it happened. We had some people that went to the doctors and we had some people that came back and they're going, the towers got hit. And literally I said, whatever, it's a lie. The drill sergeants are messing with you. That didn't happen. Don't worry about it. Whatever.
Yeah, ours was the fact that they were talking about War of the Worlds. They were just talking about that because it was the anniversary for War of the Worlds. And my neighbor came and told me, I'm like, you're kidding, right? This has got to be a joke. And it was no joke.
What do you do? I'm a college student that's just left the city. All of my friends are still in New York City. My family, it is in Salem. Boston's not that far from my house. And you having these, to this day, I have not seen how the planes hit the towers, if it makes you feel illiterate. Like, this is how much it affected my life that I have not seen the many documentaries I can't. I haven't seen the shots. I haven't seen any of it because when it happened, we finished our training, we got on a bus, and the next day life changed. We went from being in basic training to having to have concertina wire around our barracks. We're already inside a military compound. Like, our military entire terrain got locked down. And it's interesting because I have friends who are soldiers who were overseas that didn't have the same impact. You know what I mean? It became real. Like, we were army. We had a lot of privates who cry because they're like, I joined for the college money. And that's when, yes, it was like, you joined for the college money. It was one of those things like, you should have joined the Boy Scouts because it just got real. And reality hit. And those dreams of telling stories took a back burner. It became that moment of, what do you want to do?
If it were me, it would have done the opposite. I would have dove into stories to escape, because that's kind of how I escape, is I write stories. So I
Believe it
probably
or not,
would have spun something out of that.
I wrote lots of scripts when I got deployed. So fast forward to 2003, we were Operation 1 and 2. I was in Iraq, and that's all I did. I wrote film scripts about our journey and like passed it around to my different soldiers. I had one of my NCO friends who just read them. That's all I did. I wrote 4 to 5 scripts on this journey of these little units and just passed them around right next to my Harry Potter books.
Appreciated it.
You'd be surprised how quickly the human body adjusts.
Mm-hmm.
And how quickly you adjust to this bubble of what it is. You know, you get there, and the first time a motor comes off, your body falls apart. After 6 months, you're like, okay, 2 more. Hold on to finish. Okay, let's go to eat. Mm-hmm. So you adjust. So the journey kind of took a swing. Got out of the military, and I kind of tell everybody I thought I was going to have a family. I was in Fort Riley, Kansas. I was thinking I was settled, and that didn't work out. So I moved to Texas. Mm-hmm. And finally, I kind of tell everybody, I kind of came home after a few years of doing what everybody calls the real life. I kind of joke, put quotation marks in that, but some air quotations, you know, you did what you're supposed to do. You have the house, you have the job, you have the career. And I was miserable. And everybody says, what? I was like, I was absolutely miserable because I was
doing your passion. It's going to be work.
It is absolutely a struggle. And I am a little ADD with some OCD, so everybody kind of jokes. You know, I want everything.
I'm exactly the same thing. That's probably why we get along so well.
I want things perfection for small periods of time, then we move on to something else.
Yep.
So yes, so I've done everything.
That allows me to keep everything balanced too, because I use ADD to my advantage. I can have 20 windows open at the same time and still keep everything organized.
Thank you. It makes people really strange because everybody says, but you're such a creative person. I was like, yeah, the military got the organization piece online. They were amazing.
Army brat. Yep, totally. Get it?
They beat that into place. That became that bubble of come in, put things into a square. So back to finding that purpose. I went actually back to school. So I have a master's degree in science administration. I actually have a master's degree in adult education. So I got a job teaching, which I never thought. I come from a house of educators, and I have sworn to God, I'm not going to teach. That's not going to be my path. This is not what I'm going to do.
Yeah, good luck.
God has a way of laughing at you. So I'm like, really? This is what we're doing?
Never, he says, ha.
All the time, without fail. So I swallow some pride because, you know, eventually you have to recoup. Like, this is going to happen. And I didn't realize how much I enjoy teaching adults. Like, I completely am fascinated by the process. And down through the years, so I've been doing teaching to some extent for over 10 years now, which is scary to me. I have done everything from Lean Six Sigma. I have done everything from leadership training, anything that you can imagine in the adult world. What I recently realized that I love teaching is self-development. And it sounds kind of like, okay, I want people to dream. Literally, I want people to start believing that life is more than the rat race. That is more than getting up every day, going to work, coming home, cooking some food, and then doing it again. So I have this passion to kind of challenge people. And I tell everybody, if this little Dominican that English is not her first language can take a leap of faith and write some books, what's your excuse?
I mean, if the dream doesn't scare you just a little bit, it's not big enough.
Thank you. I learned that recently too. I was like, oh, in that case, mine are huge because I'm terrified all the time.
Well, so when I first started doing this podcast, I am painfully shy. When I first started doing books and doing book shows, I went with my sister because people who know her know that she is completely my opposite. She is so not shy, it's not even funny. And so I would hide behind the table. Well, after a while, I kind of started getting comfortable, and now I'm the one that's outside the table, and she's the one that's behind it. And sometimes we bring my husband just because we both want to go fly around the room. You know, it just kind of depends on how it goes. But they're like, well, I know you, and how in the world are you doing a podcast? And I'm like, because I wanted to give people a voice. I wanted to give them a chance to express their heart and to let people know that, you know, they're not alone on whatever journey that they're walking. And so I had to kind of swallow that whole, you know, am I going to make a mistake? Because you're going to make a mistake. when I did my first elevator pitch for books. It was bad. It was bad. And so now I can just rattle it off. It's practice and pushing yourself outside of your limits. And now I am a blogger, a podcaster, a 5-time award-winning author. And so, if your dream isn't big enough to scare you, it's not big enough. Dream big, shoot for the stars. And if you reach, the ceiling, keep pushing.
I usually tell everybody, a couple of the mentors that I follow is the Empower Community, for anybody who's looking for an amazing group on Facebook. So Paul Montanelli and Rodney Galfrey, amazing. And they're part of the John Maxwell team. So Paul has a phrase that I love. He goes, oh, amazing. So they're part of the team that started the John Maxwell team to teach and certify. So I'm a John Maxwell certified instructor on that side. But Paul says, do it afraid. And the first time that he said that went against everything you can imagine as a soldier. I was like, I'm not supposed to be afraid. What do you mean, do it afraid? And he goes, take the leap of faith while you're afraid. Don't wait to get perfect. Don't wait, just do it. 90% of what I'm starting to do in this journey as an author, and then I have a podcast specifically for authors as well. Mm-hmm. I went to school to be behind the scenes. I'm a filmmaker. I went to school to produce. Now I'm supposed to be in front of the cameras? Say what? And I'm doing it afraid. Yeah, I have these questions with myself. My mom's like, I saw it coming. And I'm like, no, you didn't. I know you didn't. I didn't see this coming. But it is taking those leaps. Mm-hmm. And now my goal is to motivate people to kind of dream. Mm-hmm. We are so used to doing what is expected. We're so used to doing the same thing every day that none of us think that it is okay for you to take a leap of faith. It is okay for you to actually embrace in something outside the norm. So mm-hmm. I became a meditation instructor. Mm-hmm. By the way, this ADD kid never thought she could meditate. I was like, you want me to sit and do what? For how long?
You want me to do nothing?
You want me? This is the only time of the days, literally in the morning, that I would sit between 15 to 30 minutes and literally hum to myself. I have a mantra. Imagine that. I got a mantra. And I would sit there and literally it's like, okay, we got this. But it has become such a part of my world that when I don't, I miss it. Mm-hmm. But it's little things like that. I told one of my friends today, I was like, by the way, I'm going to learn how to read cards. And she goes, why am I not surprised? I was like, they have a class. I'm going to go take this class.
Sure, why not? What else we can do?
It is just, the class sounded amazing. The astrologist is incredible. And her passion just got me excited. I was like, I think I want to take some classes with you. And she goes, how's it coming? I'm like, I have no idea what I'm looking at. It's like little dots and little lines going this way. And I'm like, no clue. But the class was fun.
There you go. Well, and learning something new. Like when we started with the bees, we have an apiary, which is with bees and raw honey and all that stuff. I've worked with essential oils and herbs. So the kind of next natural progression was bees and honey, raw, pure honey and the wax and all that stuff. And, I did a little bit of research, but I'm one of those things. My husband kind of joins me. I think I more pull him along because he's the researcher. We kind of just jump in and make the mistakes, which is kind of the basis behind the blog, The Journey to Fruitfulness, because we make the mistakes so other people don't have to. And I take the lessons that we learn and I do a spiritual application to it at the end of the blog. So it kind of takes real life lessons and kind of flips it around. And I share our joys, our successes, our epic failures, our, oh my gosh, are you kidding? Why did we even do this? Moments. And I put it all in there. And what I'm going to do eventually is kind of something along the lines of what you did. I'm going to turn it into a devotional. I'm going to take all those blogs and turn it into devotional so people can kind of go along each day and kind of take those steps. And they'll see that the spiritual applications help in real life, real world situations. So speaking of that, you have a new book out.
I do. You're talking about taking leaps of faith. This is definitely one of those things. I like the fact that you guys just jump into things and do it. I usually tell people, I don't ask a lot of questions because if you give me too much facts, I'm going to back away. I was like, yeah, that might not work out. I joke with everybody. It's like, I don't ask a lot of questions. And then I go to places like, maybe I should ask maybe 1 or 2 questions. So like, it's not my.
I can figure out if I'm, what I need to take with me.
some logistics just to give you a place. And before we get to the devotional, my friend says, hey, you're a veteran. I'm like, hey, I am. She's like, do you want to come talk to my son's class? I said, sure, not a problem. This is where more questions come in. I thought I was going to talk to a class of 20, 30 little kids, right? That's what you think when somebody says that? I was not.
Depending upon how the class is structured, it might be more like 60 to 90.
Oh, that would have been nice. Think about 300 to 400. Like she said class. I didn't
Like
think it was the whole
entire school?
Yes. I was like, I'm your guest speaker? Like, we're near a military community. And she goes, well, you said yes. I was like, and I told you. I was like, did you tell me it was the whole school? She's like, I'm pretty sure. I was like, was I not listening to you when I agreed to do this?
Then you're like, okay, what exactly is it you wanted me to hit on?
Oh, it was precious because the speech that I had to get changed on the spot. And how do I motivate 6th to 8th graders and their parents and teachers? And I was like, am I dressed appropriately? We're doing this. And here we go.
I actually do better when I don't plan. If I have a basic gist, I'm usually better because I can go off the fly and I can take rabbit trails. That's where my ADD comes into play. But if I plan it out, is actually when I screw up.
Sometimes if you have too much information, it becomes dangerous because then you are too focused on that. So yes, it became a really humbling experience, especially because some of the people they had in the audience were veterans from like Vietnam. And I'm like, why are they not talking? I go, what? So the devotional, you asked, where did this come from? So I decided once again, this one is a little tricky because I tell everybody I had a conversation with God and I lost. Let me just put it this way.
You usually will if you have a conversation with him and go in there and telling him what you're going to do. He'll come and go, ha, 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 try this.
It was a really good point. This is what I tried to tell people. My argument was solid. It was on point. I had this whole thing figured out. We spent a good, I want to say, month and a half of going back and forth on this crazy idea. And it all started, I'm doing a Facebook Live every Saturday. And it's just literally to give people motivation tips. Mm-hmm. Either we're doing leadership, we're doing development. How do I get you inspired to follow your dreams? Mm-hmm. And the idea came about, was like, a devotional would be a great thing to have to go along with the Facebook Live. This would be a great companion. And I thought, hey, God, that's a really good idea. Because, it's not my idea. I'm a fiction writer. I do urban fantasy. Closest thing I might give you for a devotional was a children's series. I do talking cats and old ladies with guns. I do a whole bunch of that. So this whole concept of a devotional based on scriptures was definitely not my idea. And I thought this would be great. And I thought, God, this would make for an amazing Christmas project. Check the box. And I went about my day. Fast forward a day or two, and here's this voice in the back of your head. So anybody who's ever had conversations with God, everybody's a little different. Mine is just random thoughts that come in that are not yours because you're never going to think these weird things. And the thought came, okay, so you can write a book in 6 weeks, but it's going to take you 6 months to do a devotional. And that hurt. I was like, ooh, okay. Thank you. I was like, okay. So then the idea became kind of real. So the next question,
out.
Oh yeah. I was like, oh. Then I was like, but do I really want to write a devotional? Do I really want to get classified as a Christian writer, right? So put that out there. I was like, I write fantasy. I do witches. This is my bubble. Do I really want to fall in that bubble? Once again, I kind of joke about it. So it gives you about a day and a half to feeling good about yourself. That just happens. My world, I get about a day and a half like, I got this. I don't want to have a label. I'm a writer. I want to be open. Mm-hmm. And then it became that quote in your head where Jesus says, if you deny me to the world, I'll deny you to my Father. And I was like, oh, really? That's a low blow. Do we have to go there?
So, yeah. I mean, I'm a Christian fiction author, so we had this conversation before I even started writing.
You understand these concepts and these challenges. And, as I joked around with my friends, I'm like, well, that's really exciting. And they said, but anybody that really has read your books, you have a lot of religion in them. Yeah, they were like, okay. So I'm still processing this. And remember, I'm all about challenge people to dream, right? I'm all in the business of telling people to follow their passion, to do things when they're afraid. I'm all about telling them that it's okay to take these leaps. And I'm
But
seriously
if
faced.
you're a physician, heal thyself. You got to take that leap too.
That became that moment when it was like, if you're going to preach, can you lead from the front? If you're going to tell people to dream, can you do it yourself? And I seriously had that moment where I had to look in the mirror and say, hey, God, is this really what you want me to do? Is this really what I'm supposed to be doing? Because at the same time, I didn't feel qualified. Who am I to talk about a devotional? Am I good enough to talk about scriptures? And it's interesting because I was a youth minister for 5 years. I took tons of, theology classes, and I've done all these stuff. And yet I still didn't feel qualified. I still didn't feel good enough. It is that imposter in the back of our heads, which is something I talk to my people all the time. So I had to face the same thing I ask people to face every day. And I'm like, you think by now I would be much more comfortable, but is the beautiful thing about being human is that every day we have an opportunity to challenge ourselves and say, okay, are you going to do this? And I've been spending months preaching all these things, and I had no excuse. Like everything else in my life, I had no excuse to say, are you going to follow your passion? And this is a very much in the nonfiction world, which is the first time I've done it, very focused on getting people to believe. That's is Dare to Believe is the name of the devotional. It's 4 weeks. Each week has a different theme that everybody gets to work through. So as I worked through creating this devotional, I found myself in the same journey as the readers, step by step.
Which is good.
Oh, it was incredible. I found myself pouring a lot more of me than I expected. I thought it was going to be some kind of separation of church and state. I was going to just write. Oh, no, nothing. It's just all me. There's some vulnerable places. And as I was reading it, and my editor was like, oh, you went there. I was like, yeah, I did not expect to go there. But that's kind of where that path took it.
Well, good. For those who want to learn more about this devotional or the different books that you do, right, how do they find you online?
You can find me on my website, which is really exciting because I'm getting ready to revamp this baby, but is www.DC Gomez, which is D as in David, C as in cat, Gomez, GOMEZ dash, not the underscore, the little dash, author.com. So you can look at all my books out there. We're getting ready to upload some more stuff, add some fun things and context in there. All the books
are being officially launched. What date?
It's going to be right now, probably middle of October is what we're looking at it. So we're doing a complete overhaul of the website.
That's about when this will come out. So that will time.
That would be fabulous. I can get some feedback what they think. So I'm switching.
That's a coincidence. We call them coincidences around here. We don't call them coincidences. So that's awesome. We
that
have about
5
minutes left. Is there anything you'd like to add?
I'm just actually wanted to tell you thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. And also thank you for hanging out with you. I miss you so much. So it's exciting to have you.
I can't, not doing book shows this year is painful. I miss talking to people. I miss my author friends. I miss my Comic-Con friends. I miss everything because you get, with the different book shows and the Comic-Cons and stuff, you get inspired when you go there. And when you don't get the chance to actually talk physically to people, which is another reason why I absolutely love this podcast, because I get exposed to a lot of different people. It gets those, creative juices flowing, and, I miss that tremendously. And I, Lord willing, will be able to join back up into that again in 2021 because I miss it terribly.
I didn't realize how much I was going to miss it because I honestly thought I'm an introvert. I just want to sit on my couch and just chill, until I couldn't do it. That was when I realized, oh my God, I miss the people. I miss talking stories. I miss that one-on-one connection, and she's kind of being able to hug. I want to hug people again.
I am a hugger too, and it's very painful.
Yes, this air bump thing going on now.
Yeah, the little fist thing. No, not my speed. I'm just
I need some hugs.
I have to hold myself whenever I'm near somebody I want to give a hug to. I'm like, I love you, but I can't hug you.
It is hard. It's some adjustment. I don't think people understand. Even writers are suffering in this time. So yes.
We are. Well, I do thank you for coming on. It was very fun to have you. And again, I missed you. Thank you for your inspiring words. They've been a real treat to listen to. And the name of your devotional is
Dare to Believe.
Dare to Believe. And the name of your series is, your other books?
It's called The Intern Diaries. For anybody who is into urban fantasy, check out The Intern Diaries. If you are not into witches and magic, check out the Cat Lady Special. Book 2 of that is coming out.
My
If you
sister
have little,
loves that book. We call her the
I'm
cat
so
lady.
excited.
It's kind of a fun one.
So yeah, so if you're looking for some nonfiction, if you have middle schoolers, I have book 2 in the Another World trilogy coming. So Madison's getting another book. And for little ones, I have Charlie's Fables. So if you're looking to motivate little baby ones, check out those ones too.
Yeah, I think I read one of your books on the Treehouse with Chief and Sarge.
You did. I think you did Charlie Dare to, Charlie, What's Your Talent?
Yes, that's the one I did.
Yes.
I love them. I love how they look, and I love how they kind of dive into different subjects. And so I think it's great. Well, again, thank you for coming on today. For those interested in looking for Ms. DC Gomez, you can find her at www.dcgomez dash, not underscore, but dash author.com. So thank you for coming on today, DC. Appreciate it. And thank you guys for watching The Journey is Real, where we talk to real people with real passions who share our real portion of their hearts. I'm CJ Peterson of cjpetersonwrites.com. Until next time.